welcome everyone. I know we are just about to the hour, so I wanted to thank everyone who is here. STEM Wednesdays are back for 2024, and with the start of a new year, we decided to kick things off with a really exciting topic. Jonathan has been doing a lot of work on developing content all about artificial intelligence in education. So we are excited that this is our first STEM Wednesday back. It is also, I believe, our 20th STEM Wednesday since we started last August, and we will keep going with this throughout the year and are just so excited that everyone has been coming and joining and participating. So please use that chat, continue chatting and interacting with us because it makes these sessions so much more fun when we get to hear back from you. Thanks everyone for joining, and I'll pass it off to Jonathan to get us started.
All right, thanks, Hannah. Well, welcome everybody. Happy New Year. Hopefully this will be the not first and only, but many sessions, one of many sessions on AI. Today we're going to just highlight some basic use of AI in the classroom, and I really want to just show what it's capable of. And then in some future STEM Wednesdays, I'd like to dive a little bit deeper, more into the how-to, and get into the nitty-gritty of some of the specifics of using AI. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, AI is often the more commonly used term, but AI is an acronym standing for artificial intelligence. And the textbook definition of artificial intelligence is a simulation of human intelligence in a machine. This could be a computer, this could be a phone, this could even be in a physical machine of some sort. But we're building a machine that can learn, then problem solve, and then make decisions on its own. That's one of the most important parts of this. And AI has a very broad reach in many areas. Some areas you might be very, very familiar with. ChatGPT is definitely one of the most popular uses of AI these days. We hear a lot about ChatGPT in the news and in the media. But AI sort of spreads into many different areas. And this is 5 of the really big areas of AI. And generative AI is probably what we're most familiar with, as well as maybe conversational AI. So I'm sure all of you have either experienced or used maybe Siri or Alexa or Google Assistant at some point, right? Those are all great examples of conversational AI. And then you have like computer vision. If you've ever deposited a check using like a mobile app for your bank, right? That's computer vision that's able to read that check, translate that check into numerical numbers for bank to understand, and then upload that money to your account. And then predictive AI and machine learning are a little bit more of what happens behind the scenes. Those are where we have machines that are learning forecasts of things like the stock market and weather, making predictions and things based on those forecasts that they produce. So today we're going to primarily focus just on how generative AI can be used in the classroom. In a future session, we may talk about conversational AI or computer vision. Maybe if you have a Alexa in your classroom, I know that's popular among some teachers. But today we're really going to focus on 2 things: using a chatbot like ChatGPT to generate content, as well as using a art generation model like DALL-E to create different types of graphics for use in your class. So as we talk about AI in education, this is a major undertaking. The 20 minutes that we have here today is definitely not enough to go through all of this. I'm just giving you a little bit of a taste for what AI can do in the classroom, and maybe get you interested enough so that you can create an account or start using AI just a little bit in your class. But we're going to look at some different examples of how we can use AI to generate lesson materials. So this means we can create things like a lesson plan or a formative assessment, maybe a student guide for a test or a quiz, and even maybe create some images and some content to go on some presentation slides. Maybe if you're building a PowerPoint or a Google slideshow, you want to have some unique, fun backgrounds that are in the same theme as what you're presenting on. I'm going to show you how we can make that possible. And then also, we can also use AI as a tool for student feedback. So before we go any further here, I'd like to ask a quick question in the chat. Has anybody used AI in any form before? Doesn't necessarily have to be for education, but has anybody used ChatGPT? Have you seen AI used in some way? I'd love to hear some examples of how you might be using it in the chat. So I see One person's posting, Hannah's posting about how she's using ChatGPT to find international musicians, so maybe people that you're not familiar with but have similar musical styles. And Preston is using ChatGPT to generate different thematic lore and characters for D&D. Julia is using it to write success criteria for your lessons. So maybe you're doing standards-based grading. It sounds like maybe you're using some sort of rubric. See, Jillian is using ChatGPT for both work and personal use, using it to find a master's program. Yeah, and the image generator is definitely fun. I used an image generator to create a Christmas card for myself. So that was pretty cool. So when we talk about chatbots, there's a couple of really popular ones. ChatGPT is by far the most popular one. ChatGPT right now is free. If you would like to use the image generation feature built into ChatGPT, that does require a subscription. So something to consider if you're looking to generate images. ChatGPT has a nice single sign-on with Microsoft and Google. Google Bard is another popular chatbot. Google Bard is also free. Google Bard does not have any form of image generation built into it. It's only text. And then Microsoft Copilot is another very popular one. Like ChatGPT, the chat feature is free. And the image generator in Copilot is free as well, but on a limited use plan. I think you can have it generate 5 images or so a day. So if you're interested in creating an account, I encourage you to go on your own and check out one of those websites. Each of them sort of is good at one thing over the other. So see what works best for you and definitely experiment around with them. So we're going to jump into some content specific examples. I'll read through this sort of list that I have and maybe just show one example of each of these. And we'll start with ELA. If there's one that you would like to see specifically, I'd love for you to post in the chat if you'd like to see me create an example of that thing I have listed out here. But some examples of using AI with ELA students. You can have ChatGPT or another chatbot create text passages. So maybe you're doing a lesson dealing with spelling or grammar. You can have it create text passages that have incorrect spelling mistakes in them or incorrect use of grammar. And then you can provide that to students. So create something that's completely unique. You can't find it anywhere else, but you can really easily generate that content using spelling or grammar mistakes or showing proper use of spelling or grammar. You can even have students use a chatbot to check their own writing for spelling or grammar. So you can copy and paste it right into a chatbot and ask it to identify any of the mistakes that they may have been made and make suggestions for changes. You can also have a chatbot summarize passages of text. Right? So students very often struggle with making summaries, especially things like poetry or some older text that's maybe written in a different style, some old literature, maybe from the medieval times or something like that, that's written in a completely different style than we're familiar with writing now. You can have ChatGPT or another chatbot take and summarize that text. You can have a chatbot generate poetry or even give alternate vocabulary suggestions. So just like a thesaurus, you can have it create things like, completely change verbs and things within a paragraph. And then a use of image generation with ELA students, and this is probably my favorite, and this sort of goes along with like sort of what Preston was saying, is you can take and have an AI image generator create scenes from a book or create images of characters based on descriptions that students provide. So students will learn how to be more descriptive with their writing because based on the descriptions that you provide, the more accurate of a description or accurate of an image you might get. So unless we have one of the other ones I want to see or want to show, I think I might show an example of that last one using ChatGPT here. So I'm going to tell ChatGPT to create an image of a dog playing poker. So we'll start simple. Right, that's not that great of a description. I just said create an image of a dog playing poker. This is going to take a couple seconds for it to generate here. And as this image generates, this image that it creates is completely unique. There's no other image like this. It's one that it's created. So I've had it create this image of the dog playing poker, right? But maybe that wasn't the most specific description, right? So I can continue to be more descriptive with my writing, and I can give it things I want it to change. I can say something like, um, make the dog a chocolate lab, right? And it's going to regenerate a whole new image with a chocolate lab instead of, I think that's a yellow lab or golden retriever, maybe. That's a great question, Preston. So, what sort of copyright issues should teachers and students be aware of if using images for lessons and content? Right. So, any image that's being created by one of these image generators is technically property of the image generator. But because you provided the description, you're able to use it in your own um, work. And educational copyright laws are definitely different than commercial copyright laws. So there's definitely different rules you'll have to look at for commercial versus educational use. Right. And I could go on and continue with this. I could have it add in 15 dogs to this image, but I want to get time to go into some other examples here. And here's just a few more examples of using ELA or using AI with ELA students. So this very top one here, I have a paragraph that's been written with spelling mistakes, right? So I can have this provided for students, and I can have students go through and modify the spelling mistakes and rewrite them. The bottom right text, I had the chatbot generate a haiku. And then right here in the middle, I gave an example of students providing a description of a textbook character, not textbook character, but a character from a novel. And if you just tell the chatbot, create Harry Potter, chatbots are now very good at detecting copyright, right? So you cannot have a chatbot create images or images of individuals or objects that are already copyrighted, right? But what you can have it do is create an image similar to it based on a more description. Right, so I told it to create an image of a boy wizard with a lightning bolt scar on his head with a magic wand in a forest. Right, and it created this image for me. So definitely not Harry Potter, um, but very similar along the lines of it. It does almost look like a bathrobe. Using AI with social science students. So maybe we're thinking um, social studies, history, geography, those type of students. Here are some examples. You can have AI as a debate person, right? Have it act as a specific individual, and you can debate the chatbot. You can have it generate maps and diagrams of battlefields or historical areas or historical topics. Right? You can have it even generate writing prompts. Right? So to be able to get students to engage in writing, especially in ELA or social science setting, very often students have a hard time engaging when you give all students the exact same prompt to write on. Right? With ChatGPT or Copilot, you can create unique prompts for everybody based on their specific interests in that topic. And you can even have students try to fact check the chatbot. So have it generate examples of descriptions of historical events and have them fact check if those actually happen. So students have to actually go and do the research to try to justify whether a specific event in history happened. And you can also have students create. You can have the chatbot create reading comprehension questions on a specific segment of text. So you can provide the text to the students read the text. You also provide the text to the chatbot and ask it to write a series of questions. It could be multiple choice, it could be extended response questions, and it will quickly generate those questions for you. I'll give a quick example of this. Let's see, I'm going to have ChatGPT here write a prompt for me. I'm going to say, write a prompt for a 7th grade class studying the I'll word this differently. Create a writing prompt. The chat definitely goes much faster than image generation. But now I have a unique and descript prompt, right? If I wanted to modify this, I can always have it make a change. I could say, can you change the prompt to be about the Alamo instead? Right, and it will do so. So you can make and really quickly generate this new and unique content with just a couple sentences of prompting, right? And to me, this is way quicker than searching the internet and scouring the internet for good prompts on a history essay. So there's definitely quite a bit that can be sped up with that. Here are just a couple examples. This passage on the left-hand side here was a passage I asked the chatbot to write about World War II. And it included one mistake. And hopefully you don't challenge me to ask me what the mistake was, because I now forget which of these things was the mistake. But there is a mistake in that passage, a historical incorrect fact. And then I also asked it to generate an image of Germany during World War II, so when Germany was still fractured. And you'll notice on this map of Germany that the text is definitely pretty goofy looking. Image generators do struggle with creating images of text. There's often lots of misspellings. So if you're trying to do that, you have to be very descript in getting it to do that text correctly. Okay, another example or area of students we can work with are going to be STEM students. All right. One of the very first things you can do, is that what it is, Preston? It's 145, not 44. One of the things that you can do with STEM students is get them to understand how AI works, right? It's very easy for me to go into ChatGPT and type in some prompts for it to work on, but there's a lot that's happening under the hood, so to speak. Right. So you can get really deep into learning how AI is actually functioning, how these different programs are trained, and the amount of data it takes to train one of these programs. You, of course, can use AI to generate a formative or a summative assessment for a class. You can have it create lesson plans, even. So if you wanted to create a lesson plan with certain pieces and parts to it, you can do that. You can have it show steps to problem solving. So maybe solving a math problem, solving a science problem, something maybe in chemistry or physics. You can have it show all of the steps and walk through explanations of how to complete each of those steps. And you can even have it generate diagrams of complicated systems. So maybe we are in an anatomy class and I want students to be able to identify all of the parts of the skeletal system or the muscular system. Right, I can go into ChatGPT and I can say create a image of the muscular system in the body. And I'm going to say do not include labels and make the image black and white. Right, because maybe I want to copy this on my copy machine at school. We only can print in black and white. I can have the image optimized to be in black and white rather than printing a color image in black and white. I could see students that enjoy theater and music using it to make new lyrics and popular songs to memorize content. There's actually, I just started listening to a couple weeks ago, there's a podcast that the entire podcast is run by an AI chatbot. So each episode, it suggests the topic of the podcast. It tells them what to say. Um, oh, Regenerator, give it more chance. So a lot of the times with ChatGPT, creating an image, if it does throw an error like that, it's often because the server is overloaded. So this is a pretty heavily used website. So very often it's overloaded and that can cause some issues. So there we go. So I got a black and white illustration of the human muscular system. Right, if I wanted to make edits to this and have it show one specific area, maybe just the arm only, I could do that. But I can create really unique diagrams that students can then label to help them study and understand. And here's just a couple examples of this as well. Right, so I have a diagram of a animal cell that students can label the different parts of the cell. And I also have a question that I generated based on plant cells. Yep, it is C. Plant cells have chloroplasts, animal cells do not. Right, so those are just a few examples of AI use in education. And there's obviously some concerns that come along with this, right? We're obviously concerned about copyright issues. We're concerned about students using AI to replace their own work that they should be doing. Um, and those concerns are valid. AI has gotten to the point where it's pretty hard to tell the difference between an AI generated thing and a human generated thing. So these images here, one of them is AI generated, one of them is actually painted by a watercolor painter. And to me, I think it's the one on the right is AI generated. Right? It doesn't look super watercolor-ish, so that sort of gave it away. But to somebody who's looking from afar and glancing quickly, it might take you a second to realize the difference between these two. Same thing with text. Right? One of these is a poem written by ChatGPT. One of these is a poem from some of Shakespeare's writing. If you're not super familiar with that specific author, it definitely is challenging to identify. It's the one on the right is AI generated. One on the left is Shakespeare's writing. So as these concerns become more and more relevant, and AI is something that is very hard to avoid the use of, we need to think about ways to positively use AI with students, right? So have them and show them correct what use of AI rather than making them fearful of using it. If you are worried about students using AI with things in your class, um, just as easy as it is to make something with AI, there's also some really easy resources that you can use to detect the use of AI. Right? We used to have Turnitin. It was a really big service. You could submit an essay to this website called Turnitin, and it would detect if you plagiarized something. These websites are all some pretty popular ones that are used for detection of AI-generated content. And these are specifically for AI-generated text content. AI-generated images are a little bit more challenging to detect with a web service. And I don't necessarily endorse any of these three. These are just some of the most popular ones I found when I did a quick Google search, and I definitely tested them out, and they all seemed to do pretty well at detecting whether AI was used or not. Right? And if you're clear with students on how they can use AI to assist them with an assignment, they're going to be less likely to use AI in a nefarious way, right? So if you show them positive use of AI, they're going to start to use it in a positive manner. Right? So thank you again for coming here today and spending a little bit of your time with us this afternoon. Like I said, this was just supposed to be a quick introduction to some examples of how AI can be used in education. Hopefully in the future, we're going to do some additional STEM Wednesdays focused more on how to use a specific AI tool to generate something like a lesson plan or specific content, and really focus on how you can do that effectively to create the best content possible using AI. So if you have any questions, I will stick around here for in the next few minutes, or if you'd like to see some more examples of how AI can be used, I'd love to share those with you. But I appreciate you joining us today, and I hope to see you all next week at our STEM Wednesday.